Okay. It's a very simple question, really. Has the mission to Seafarers come into contact with people who've been affected by piracy?
Indeed we have. It's been a mark of the whole issue of piracy that there's been a concentration on the military response, a concentration on securing the release of the ship and the cargo, and of course the seafarers. But for us, the seafarers are the primary concern. The waters off the coast of Somalia is a particular hotspot for piracy. Many ships have been attacked, and there is of course the UN and EU military task force, Operation Atlanta, trying to protect ships, even taking them in convoys through that area. Therefore, we have no particular geographical spot, because the seafarers, although that's where they are attacked, come from all over the world. Multinational crewing is a feature of today's merchant navy. The importance is that when seafarers are released from being hostages, bearing in mind that they will have been abused, if not physically, certainly psychologically and emotionally, that they receive pastoral care as soon as possible.
And what sort of pastoral care would the mission be able to offer?
Both to the seafarer and of course the seafarers' families, the loved ones back home that all too often are forgotten about. Interestingly, in a number of cases, when spouses have been informed that their loved ones have been seized in a pirate attack, they are asked not to broadcast that, not to say anything. One of the effects of that is that not only is the seafarer held captive, but the loved ones feel hostage as well, because they're not able to share that information, bottles up inside, they're not able to seek help in some cases, other than ourselves, who deal with the seafarers and with the families.
It's a very basic question, but I mean, from what you've gathered, I mean, how have people reacted to being attacked in this way?
As you or I would. Trauma is very definitely a mark of what's happened, and post-trauma experience is that there is a significant stress. And so, having identified this, and to ensure that there is no skills gap in our port chaplains, we've rolled out a training program specifically on the effects of post-trauma stress.
The mission's involved with endless maritime organisations. Have you been able to have some input in that?
Most certainly. Whilst the focus, of course, is on seafarers and their families, we mustn't forget that there are shoreside company personnel who may well have friendship with the seafarers and have to manage this situation and deal with the consequences. So that's another aspect of our work, is that chaplains can be with the shoreside personnel in their offices during the whole crisis and offer support there as well.
And I think people would be interested to know what sort of representation the mission has around the world in these areas. I mean, where are the nearest points of contact in these sort of areas?
Points of contact?
Well, for a mission station, say around Somalia, where would it be?
Well, there are stations in Dar es Salaam, in Mombasa, in Bahrain, in Aden, and further.
So there's a lot.
But that's perhaps the first point of contact for a ship having come out of a pirate attack. Those are some of the safe ports of call. But of course, as I've said, the crew come from many different countries. So it's not only chaplains in the ports there, but the nearest chaplains to the homes of these seafarers.
Yeah. And really my last question is whether you feel that we should have any sympathy for pirates, given that very often pirate areas are fairly poor, low economic countries. Should we feel sympathy for the pirates at all?
I think the genesis of piracy was in, for example, in Somalia, complaints that their fishing stocks were being poached by non-Somalian fishing vessels. That escalated quite quickly from that position to there being a recognition that actually money could be made out of this. And before you know it, we have the involvement of warlords, and it's become a business. It's not so much terrorism, although of course seafarers are terrorised, there's no doubt about that, and there is thuggery and brutality and there is abuse. It is a business model. It pays money, not only to the actual pirates, and the best estimates are that the pirates only see a very small percentage of the ransom demand. By the time they actually pay for the armaments, pay for the boats, and indeed the motherships, because of course it's not only confined to the the contiguous zones, but actually far out to sea now. Once all that has been paid for, they have to make big money, otherwise the business model collapses. But that's what it is. It's a business. It's a problem at sea, but it's also a problem of good governance, or rather the lack of good governance within Somalia. And many people are saying that piracy is but a symptom of a much bigger problem, and that really cannot be tackled by the shipping industry, and can only be addressed by the international community.
Do you think, therefore, that the international community is responding in the right way?
Certainly it's doing what it can initially. The UN and EU military force, the Navy, doing the protection of the shipping is needed. But I think there needs to be recognition within the UN that many more resources need to be devoted to this problem, because otherwise the piracy will continue, but a lot of the other injustices will just carry on and on and on, until people feel safe, secure, and have a degree of comfort in their lives. Then there will be the criminal element that can take advantage of the lack of good governance, and hence the symptoms. The popular understanding of pirates is yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. Pirates of the Caribbean, and that sort of romanticised Johnny Depp view of it all, the lovable rogue. It's not at all like that. You know, it's murder, rape, pillage. It's Kalashnikovs and rocket-propelled grenade launches and all sorts of things. You know, it's very much more serious than that. If you want to investigate piracy, you have to go beyond the person with the machete and the machine gun. And look a lot deeper, or a lot higher, if you want. Our responsibility is caring for the people that are held hostage, caring for the ones who are vulnerable and attacked, including their families.